more on the importance of virtualization, and Apple sues NSO Group. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 3 in a 3-part MacVoices live conversation. We continue our discussion about virtualization and the importance of virtualization, especially on the M1 chip, and then we turn our attention to Apple's suit against the NSO Group for the spyware Pegasus. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
I have a use case for having that Windows install local, and it's that there's a large portion of this world that does not have adequate broadband to be able to have an operating system hosted on someone else's iron. Yeah. So you need to have a way for this to be local, just so that all of the people that need that actually can take advantage of it.
But that's getting to be a smaller and smaller. I mean, what you're talking about is people that can't use Netflix. Because that's basically streaming. It's not really any different than watching a streaming service.
Yeah. Well, let's use the African continent as an example. The parts of the African continent where you actually have reliable broadband with any reasonable amount of speed is a small minority. Most of the people that are working on computers as part of their business they have to do everything locally, and then when they can get their internet to work, and they probably have 3 different services, one of them being cellular, then they'll hop online when they can.
Yeah, but those people can't afford Macintoshes either, unfortunately, is the sad truth.
Sure. I'm sure that there's many more Windows machines there. But, there's a lot of people that will take their old Macs and ship them off to, say, Ghana, so that people can have computers. So that the number of Macs that are there is probably higher than people realize.
Intel. They're all old Intel Macs.
Yes, but eventually they'll be M1s as well.
Maybe by that time they'll have the network stuff, or Microsoft will be. I think this is a good thing. I hope that Windows does become widely available. It's an easy install. It's not necessarily something that I personally need, but options are good, and I think this would be, I thought that was one of the kind of cool things about the Intel-based Macs, was that it was essentially a Rosetta Stone. An Intel-based Mac could run anything. And they've kind of changed. Like the M1 is sort of a new kind of Rosetta Stone. It won't run Windows, so maybe it will in the future, but it does run iOS software, which the Intel ones couldn't do. So it's sort of like they dropped Windows and added iOS. So far that doesn't seem like people are getting that much use out of the fact that iOS runs on there. But it is a new operating system, a new API that is now supported. Another interesting thing is, now they've people have gotten Linux to run on M1 Macs, and that is sort of a boot camp thing, which I think we all wondered, would that ever happen? If they've actually booted Linux bare metal on M1 machines. So kudos to the people doing that project. That's very, very cool.
I agree. That's very cool.
So somebody write this down, because this will be one of the first times in history that I've ever defended Microsoft. But we're still seeing, even now, Mac software publishers, and some notable Mac software publishers just getting their M1 versions of their applications up to speed and really taking full advantage. And we're talking about Windows as an operating system, which is no small feat. Now, we talked earlier about maybe there are contractual obligations that they haven't done. They aren't doing this right now, or aren't able to do it. But it would seem awfully short-sighted for them not to. So I'm kind of hoping that as much as I have no love or use for Windows in anywhere on any machine, but that said, I know there are a lot of people that do, and so I hope that Microsoft can accomplish this either technically, contractually, or both for the benefit of the users.
If anything I said came off as criticism of Microsoft, that was absolutely not my intention.
Oh, I don't think anybody took it that way, Jim. No, I certainly didn't.
Oh, well, you said you felt like you had to defend Microsoft, so that I took that as somebody was attacking Microsoft. So just want to make sure that wasn't clear. That wasn't me.
No. Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, what I meant was, that Microsoft may just flat out need time, because I kind of doubt that Apple, okay, so now I'll go back to slamming them. But, Apple let them see something early on, a long time ago. And let's just say that things appear to have been appropriated as a result of that. And so now I seriously doubt that they got much of an early look at the M1 chips in any significant fashion. That's pure speculation.
Well, Chuck, yeah. I would be stunned if Microsoft didn't have their ARM version of Windows running on multiple platforms, hardware platforms, just all along.
Yeah, just like Apple had Mac OS running on Intel boxes like 5 years, in 2000 or 1999 or something like that. I'm sure they do. And Chuck, in a way, Microsoft absolutely had a heads up, because it's the ARM instruction set. The fact is that the ARM version of Windows does run on an M1 Mac without Microsoft doing anything. And yeah, maybe there's bugs and performance issues, but we're talking about something that Microsoft has not in any way changed a single byte of it. And it runs on the M1 because the M1 uses the ARM instruction set. So, that is not unique to Apple. Apple's made changes to it. So I would assume that, it could be optimized for Apple's processors, and maybe Microsoft will do that. But I was amazed when I first heard reports that people were getting the ARM version of Windows to run on Parallels. It's like, really? That's that's pretty darn incredible.
Kudos to Parallels.
Well,
sharp cookies over there.
Kudos to Parallels, but also, it's sort of like, there's science, the instruction set's the same, and I'm sure it took a lot of work on Parallels' part, and the engineers at Microsoft that made an ARM version of, because that, that's also that ARM version of Windows. When we're talking about running 32-bit Windows software, that's under x86 emulation. So Microsoft has had their own version of Rosetta 2 for, I'm not sure how long, but it's been a while. It works a different way than Apple's does, and I guess it's not quite as performant. But that's pretty amazing. The x86 instruction set is incredibly complicated, and especially in the 32-bit realm, because it has modes for 286 and X, original 186, and there's all these memory modes, and Apple tossed all that. You go back and when Catalina came out, Apple dropped support for 32-bit apps, and everybody was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, ARM's coming." That was the total clue, because that means they were able to drop all the support for all the legacy 386. Basically everything that happened in the x86 world from 1975 till, I don't know, when did 64-bit Intel come out? Like maybe around 2000, or I'm not sure exactly, but there were several generations, and Intel just kept building and building, and everything had backward compatibility. So you could still run 16-bit software that was written in 1979. You can still run it on a current x86 machine now. But Apple's like, no, we're tossing all of that. We're not going to run any of that old crudge, and we're only going to run 64-bit Intel software, which is a completely different instruction set. When it went from 32 to 64, they totally cleaned it up. They threw it away. So, I mean, the Intel people did. So it's sort of like an x86 machine. It has two processors in it. It has this 32-bit processor, which also contains 16-bit, and that's still in there. And all that stuff is in there. And then there's a 64-bit processor. So they're just kind of sitting side by side. And Apple's like, we're not going to use that 32-bit part anymore, which also meant that when they moved to ARM, they didn't have to, like their Rosetta doesn't have to emulate that. Microsoft's does. So that's one reason I think why Microsoft's version of Rosetta doesn't work as well as Apple's does. It's also because they took a different approach. But anyway, I'm not sure where I started on this rant.
Good stuff.
But yeah, lots of cool technology being done all over the place by Apple, by Microsoft, by Parallels. It's still an exciting field decades later.
Yeah. Well, before we run out of time, I wanted to just get the panel's thoughts on one thing, and that is that today Apple, or at least it's become public knowledge now, Apple strikes back over Pegasus spyware with lawsuit against NSO Group. And for those of you that weren't paying attention, the NSO Group is the one that publishes Pegasus, the spyware Pegasus that has been in the news so much. And it appears, Apple is doing this because they say that Pegasus specifically targeted Apple users. So, what do you make of this, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, so it is a complicated story. The core of what the privacy researchers and the NGOs discovered about the Pegasus software was that it apparently had been deployed much more broadly than was previously known, and in some cases was used to target activists, to target people who were targeted by repressive regimes. There's an amazing story of possibly a Saudi princess who was on the run and was trying to escape from her family, and it was escaping on a yacht, and then the yacht was boarded by commandos because they apparently were tracking her phone or some of the phones of people she was in contact with via the Pegasus software. So anyway, the nature of the way that tool has been used is incredibly controversial and incredibly complicated. What's not complicated is that Apple does not like people using 0 days against its platform. Apple does not like any kind of publicity that suggests that its devices are anything less than rock solid from a security perspective and rock solid from a privacy perspective. Apple has been willing to go to bat in very tricky and controversial situations, such as the San Bernardino attackers' iPhone, and going to court to avoid having to provide a backdoor encryption unlock for that phone. So when it comes out that there exists this tool that can turn an iPhone into a surveillance device that's broadcasting your audio, possibly your camera screenshots, certainly your location, and that can be used on anybody who gets crosswise with one of these corporations or governments that has licensed this application. There's no upside for Apple to stay quiet about this. And to Jim's point, the company does not do things altruistically. This is not a move in the interest of protecting consumer privacy or Apple's customer privacy. This is about protecting the brand. And the iPhone brand specifically, it advertises based on privacy. There's a whole ad campaign based on not tracking you. It is unthinkable that Apple wouldn't push back against this company, whether what they're doing is legal or moral or not. Apple is going to work. Apple has made it. Is going to make it a mission to make Pegasus and any of the other NSO Group solutions useless against iPhone. That is job one. And again, you can argue whether that is a net good for consumers or a net bad for the FBI or other folks who take advantage of these tools to track legitimate evildoers and criminals. But this is what's happening. Like there is no more room for Apple to turn a blind eye to the fact that this tooling exists. It's getting shut down wherever possible. But again, a $1 trillion company can bring resources to bear on this problem that rival nation states. Apple has the heft and can swing a stick at this problem that is comparable to to MI6. It's that kind of level of capability. It's going to be able to bring that kind of talent and focus on this. So I don't see that this product survives as a with the iPhone and Apple's iOS platforms as a target any longer. Whether it works on Android or whether it can maintain some viability around the edges, but as soon as anything opens up, it's getting shut down, and Apple is looking for it now.
Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. If you dread looking at your credit card statement each month, you're not alone. The weight of debt can be crippling, but Upstart can be your first step on your path to financial freedom. Upstart can get you a fair and fast personal loan within one business day of accepting your loan. $1,000 to $50,000 with a clear payoff date and a smarter rate is how Upstart can help. And the smarter rate part is because Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, but also considers your income, current employment, and credit history. Best of all, it's fast and easy because the application process is all done online and doesn't impact your credit score. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/MacVoices. That's Upstart, upstart.com/MacVoices. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Upstart for their support of MacVoices. David, John Gruber on Daring Fireball said that he's going to be watching this with great interest, but he wonders what kind of damages Apple would be looking for, and would it be enough to bankrupt NSO? Well, that's going to be a really interesting part of it. How do you prove what damages have actually been done, and especially then place a monetary value on it? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough. How are you going to really put any monetary value on something that it just, if anything, this is just the fact that this company wants to prey on they think the vulnerability of what's going on iOS. And yeah, I agree with everything that Mike said. It just definitely is interesting what this is going to happen. It could put this company out of business. I mean, they say in the article here on Mac Rumors that it was only sold to vetted military. Okay, well, obviously it leaked.
Nope.
Obviously it leaked out, and obviously it went somewhere else. So this company doesn't have a very good control of their product. But as far as you asking what kind of monetary value, I don't know. I think Apple's probably in it for the principle of it all, and defending their product and defending the fact that they don't want a company like this to prey on their systems. I mean, I fully agree with that part.
Like, I try to figure out how, looking at it, I mean, Mike was very eloquent with his explanation of things, and that Apple has a platform to protect. But if Jeff Gamet's software or phone had been hacked using Pegasus, Jeff technically is the one damaged. So that, I don't know. I haven't read the full complaint, so it'll be very interesting to see how it works.
If somebody's doing something to sabotage Ford cars, does that mean only people that drive Ford car, the individuals that drove the cars, have damages? I would think Ford would have a pretty good cause of action if somebody's deliberately sabotaging Ford vehicles.
Yeah,
good point.
I like that point.
Also, I'm sure that buried somewhere in the terms of service, the licensing for using iOS, Apple can find something that applies in this situation. But the bigger thing for me when I look at this, it isn't so much how much money could Apple potentially get out of them from damages. It's, does Apple have the resources to litigate them into the ground? And yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Apple could litigate just about anybody into the ground.
Right. And Mike nailed it. And using litigation to just destroy a company, this is not out of the possibility for Apple. They have the resources to do this.
And, the funny part is we're all, including me, like sort of cheering that on, although that's really kind of a defect in our justice system.
It is, and yet you use the tools that are available to you.
I said I was cheering it on.
Yeah.
But, it's...
Well, it feels like this might be one of the few times that Apple is going to be seen as having the moral high ground in a situation like this. I mean, it seems like we've talked about this a million times on the show, how Apple takes a lot of beating from the press just because they are, right at the top of the mountain. And here, maybe they've got that high ground on the top of the mountain to rain fire down on it. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, and this is a rare thing to see Apple release a press release like this. I mean, you always hear lawsuits; they don't really make a huge deal out of it. That they're making a huge deal out of this. I mean, even says that they're giving a $10 million contribution to support cyber surveillance researchers and advocates. That's very commendable. I think this is a reputation protection. They want to protect their reputation of a secure product, and like Mike said, they got some really good security in place on their products now, and they want to keep it that way.
There are a lot of cases where lawsuits are filed not necessarily for the outcome of the case, and I listened to a podcast called All the President's Lawyers, and they are discussing that sort of thing every week. So
I imagine there was a C-suite meeting at some point where Tim Cook said something to the effect of "cry havoc and let loose the dogs of war."
Even if he didn't, he should have.
He did it, and he did it doing it as Christopher Plummer as General Chang from
Oh my God,
Star Trek:
yes.
Undiscovered Country, which is the best line reading of that line
Ever.
in history, because he does it as he's on the bridge of the Bird of Prey, spinning in his chair.
Yeah.
Cry havoc!
Yeah, I was going to say, even if he didn't say it, he will have said it in the movie version.
Oh my God, it's the best
Spinning
line.
in his chair. Yep.
I am finding that clip. I'm sharing it in the YouTube chat because it is like in a television show and a movie series where actors subsist on a diet of pure scenery for hours at a time. Christopher Plummer as the Klingon general is like just at another level, just operating at another level entirely.
I agree completely. And now I will never be able to unsee Tim Cook in his Klingon battle armor screaming, "Cry havoc and let loose the dogs of war."
And spinning in his chair, yeah.
But is he wearing
Spinning in his chair.
That's right.
Webb brings up some great points in the chat room. NSO had a bad month, actually. The Biden administration blacklisted the NSO Group, according to New York Times. They can't offer their spyware in the USA. Okay, congratulations, Biden Association. That'll take them only 5 seconds longer to get it into the USA, but it's a nice effort. There's also a Facebook lawsuit against NSO as well regarding WhatsApp. And Apple has said that if they were awarded damages, they would donate them to anti-spyware causes. Thanks, Webb. I guess I didn't get far enough in the story to see that. So,
if Facebook is suing you over privacy issues, you've really, really gone too far.
Wow. That's a deeply pessimistic view, Jeff, and I like it.
Or, they're just trying to, draw your attention over here.
Yeah. While their hands in your pocket.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been fun. This is it got a little bit geeky around the middle there, but I like it. It's always fun when we sometimes go that direction. So thank you all for doing it. Thank you, chat room, so much for all the comments. Brad was throwing a bunch of stuff in that I couldn't possibly keep up with on the ARM situation. But yeah, really appreciate all the comments. So let's go around the room and find out where folks can see you before you head out to chase your turkey down. So I'm going to reverse it this time.
That's a euphemism, right?
I hope not. Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
Awkward.
A euphemism for what, Jeff? You can tell us when we get to you.
I'll draw you a picture.
Oh God, I hope not. Yes, David. Sorry, go ahead, David.
I said those pictures from October. We got some pictures from Jeff. So,
oh, good. Yes. What was it? Inktober.
Inktober. That's right.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing a turkey, but
no, I don't either.
Okay, well, get on that, Jeff.
I'll get on that.
Okay. David, where can folks find you when you're not here, and before you start chasing down your turkey?
Yes, you can find me at InTouchWithIOS at InTouchWithIOS.com. We have actually going to record a show Friday afternoon because of the holiday this week, so we'll have a lot of fun with Jeff and Patrice. You'll also find me on our YouTube page at youtube.com/DaveG65, where all the shows are there, and find me on the Mac Show on Fridays, and you also find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Thank you. Jeff, some of us that are cooking turkeys will be dressing our turkeys. Will your turkey have pants?
No, it's very casual Thanksgiving at my place. No pants.
No pants. Thank you for sharing that, Jeff.
Sure.
Just underpants.
Where can folks find you?
How about Twitter and Instagram? I'm Jay Gamet on both. YouTube.com/Jay Gamet for my videos. And I'm on macOS Ken in a few minutes all this week, which is just loads of fun. I just did a few days ago Apple Context Machine. This Friday, doing In Touch with iOS with Dave's. And I think that's everything right now.
Maybe we could go to the Pearl Street Mall and wander around and find you that way.
Yes, you could totally go to the Pearl Street Mall, and you'll find me. So if you see me roaming on Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, be sure and say hi.
Or behind the Pearl Street Mall, because a lot of Jeff's most interesting pictures come from behind the Pearl Street Mall. I don't know.
There's some really cool alleys with some interesting art in Boulder off Pearl Street.
I'm not sure what you're doing back there, but okay, whatever.
I'm photographing.
Okay, thank you. Jim Ray, where can folks find you?
Well, let's see. You can find me at proview.com, where I will happily tell you all about Panorama, a database that is not yet M1 native, ironically, but soon. And also on Twitter, ProviewJim, ProvueJim on Twitter.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Good to have you. And Mike Rose, this was your first official time. Will you be back, or have we scared you away?
I would love to come back. I don't know if it'll be next Tuesday or some other time, but I would be glad to rejoin the crew for MacVoices Live.
Great. Well, it's good. It's certainly good to have you. Where can folks find you?
Folks can find me on the After Show with Mike and Kelly at aftershowpodcast.com or _aftershow on Twitter, where I am frequently joined by my partner in podcast and crime, Miss Kelly Gamet of Portland, Oregon, with whom you are all familiar. You can also find me occasionally on Ken Ray's In a Few Minutes as one of his guests. And I believe his guest this week is none other than Mr. Jeff Gamet. Unless I misread my notifications.
You are reading your notifications correctly.
Awesome. great show. I highly recommend it. macOS Ken's side project. And you can find me on Twitter at Mike T. Rose.
Excellent.
Wait a minute.
Thank you,
Is the
Mike.
name of the podcast In a Few Minutes?
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
In a few minutes.
Oh, I thought it was like, if I waited 15 minutes from now,
I would tell you, no.
No, well, Jeff said, I'll be on this podcast in a few minutes.
In a few minutes.
It is 15. It literally is 15 minutes an episode. So for the week,
I thought it meant like 15 minutes, a few minutes from now.
I can see
you
where
were
you
going to
would think
stop
that.
this, and I guess I'll have to leave the after show early.
Yeah, he recorded it on Sunday, but behind the scenes, there's one episode a day for all week, but they are recorded. They're pre-recorded, as most many podcasts are. So it's called In a Few Minutes.
it's ice.
Yeah, be sure to listen to the Thanksgiving Day episode.
Okay. Little tease there. Thank you.
Good tease.
Cool. Okay. Well, I guess, folks, you'll be able to find me on Thanksgiving, chained to the table in the kitchen, peeling potatoes for mashed potatoes, because I peel a mean potato. But otherwise, leave it alone, Jeff. Leave it alone.
Self-control. Self-control.
Yeah, right.
Underpants.
We will definitely see you back here again next Tuesday for MacVoices Live. I hope you and your family and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a great Thanksgiving. And if you're not celebrating Thanksgiving in the U.S., just have a great week. We'll see you next time. So this is MacVoices Live, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.